Sakyam Shigaro Shiyata Balakamaham Shigaran Vaishnavam Shirupam Sangrajatam Sanganaragalatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shirana Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishkam Vitam Sya Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananshina Shlokya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shivarave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Gargana Rasisha Sambhushitam Chenja Chenja Samasta Veda Nipanam Shirupa Patanagam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Bharatanam Bhaktyan Bidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Navi Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanam Suchandamaranam Valarka Chelashitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Vishubharam Maleka Sharanam Nyashishvara Shridaram Vanshikopatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 22, the process of devotional service. So in this chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking with Srila Sanatan Goswami, and the previous chapter was entitled The Opulence and Sweetness of Lord Krishna. That was about the process of sambandha, the relationship which the individual has with the Lord. And this chapter is about abhidheya, and it's called the process of devotional service, which means or the way in which we enter into and satisfy that relationship we have with Krishna. So I'll begin with verse number 26. Chari Varnashrami Jari Krishna Nahi Bhaje Swakarma Kurite Se Varava Parimaje. The followers of the Varnashram institution accept the regulative principles of the four social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and four spiritual orders, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. However, if one carries out the regulative principles of these orders but does not render service to Krishna, one falls into a hellish condition of material life. But just following the prescription of the Varnashram Dharma system is not enough. One has to develop one's service relationship with the Lord and engage oneself in devotional service. Mukha bahuru bharevya purushash yashrama saha chatvaro jagire varna gunar vipradaya pita. From the mouth of Brahma, the Brahminical order has come into existence. Similarly, from his arms, the Kshatriyas have come. From his waist, the Vaishyas have come. And from his legs, the Shudras have come. These four orders and their spiritual counterparts, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, combine to make human society complete. Yaisham Purusham Sakshad Atma Prabhavam Ishwaram Na Bhajanti Abhajananti Stanadrashta Patanti Ada. If one simply maintains an official position in the four varnas and ashramas, but does not worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, one falls down from one's puffed up position into a hellish condition. Jnani Jivan Mukta Dasha Panu Korane Vastuta Buddhi Shuddha Nahi Krishna Bhakti Vine. There are many philosophical speculators, jnanis, belonging to the Mayavad school, who consider themselves liberated and call themselves Narayan, but their intelligence is not purified unless they engage in Krishna's devotional service. Yenye Ravindaksha Vimuktamaninas Payasta Bhavan Avishuddha Budaya Aruya kritrena parambaram tata patandiyado nadrita yushmad ambraya. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life, but do not render devotional service to you, must be of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances, and rise to the spiritual position to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. Very nice verse. Yenye Rabindaksha Vimuktamanina Svayastad Bhava Vishuddha Buddhaya Aruya Kritrena Parambaram Tata Patanti Ado Nadrita Yushmarandraya. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life, but do not render devotional service to you, must be of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to the spiritual position, to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. Krishna Surya Samamaya Hoy Andakar Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikar. Krishna is compared to sunshine, and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy, will immediately vanish. Krishna Surya Samamaya Hoy Adhikar Hoy Andakar Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikar. Krishna Surya Samamaya Hoy Andakar Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikar. It was on the masthead of the Back to Godhead magazine that Prabhupada published. And Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy will immediately vanish. Vilacha manaya yasya statum iksha pate muya vimohita vikante mamaham iti durdiya. I'm going to read here this commentary on the previous verse. It says, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, Ridertam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidya datmano mayam yata vasho yata tama. What appears to be truth without me is certainly my illusory energy, for nothing can exist without me. It is like a reflection of a real light in the shadows, for in the light there are neither shadows nor reflections. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. When a living entity becomes Krishna conscious, he is immediately relieved of all material lusty desires. Lusty desires and greed are associated with Raja and Tama, passion and darkness. When one becomes Krishna conscious, the modes of passion and darkness immediately vanish, and then the mode of goodness, Sattva-gun, remains. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, one can make spiritual advancement and understand things clearly. This position is not possible for everyone. When a person is Krishna conscious, one continuously hears about Krishna, thinks about him, worships him, observes him as a devotee. One remains in Krishna consciousness. In this way, the darkness of Maya certainly will not be able to touch him. So, what is being stated here is if one can actually come to spiritual consciousness, then the illusory energy will fail to attract one. So, that is the idea here. It's a very clear conception, because one has to take into account the fact that there is spiritual energy and it is possible to come to an understanding of one's spiritual existence and be able to control falling under the control to be able to stop falling under the control of illusion. That's the idea. And Vilajam Manaya Yasha Statum Iksha Pate Muya Vimohita Vikhatante Amaham Iti Durdiya. The external illusory energy of Krishna, known as Maya, is always ashamed to stand in front of Krishna, just as darkness is ashamed to remain before the sunshine. However, that Maya bewilders unfortunate people who have no intelligence. Thus they simply boast that this material world is theirs and that they are its enjoyers. So that is what interferes with one's spiritual development, if one thinks that the whole world is for one's enjoyment. Because usually we'll say, sooner or later, people who come to the understanding that that's not true. You see, thus they simply boast that this material world is theirs and that they are its enjoyers. Most people, sooner or later, they're going to come to the understanding that that's not true, that they're not able to really be the, what you might call the enjoyers of everything in this world. Krishna Tomar Hana Jari Bole Ekbar Maya Banda Hoite Krishna Tare Korebar. One is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya. One seriously and sincerely says, "My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service." And then this verse, the idea of that is the essence. It says, one is immediately freed from the clutches of Maya. One seriously and sincerely says, "My dear Lord Krishna, although I have forgotten you for so many long years in the material world, today I am surrendering unto you. I am your sincere and serious servant. Please engage me in your service." And there's a quote here from the Ramayana, which is very nice. Sakrideva prapanoyas tavad tavasmiti yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai tadami etad pratam mama. Sakrideva prapanoyas tavasmiti yachate abhayam sarvada tasmai dadami etad pratam mama. It is my vow that if one, only once, seriously surrenders unto me, saying, "My dear Lord, from this day I am yours," and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on. So this is a relation of Ramayana that Vibhushan, he's a great sage, but he happened to be the brother of Ravana, who was the king of the demons. He is who kidnapped Sita. So then Vibhishan, he was always advising his brother and his brother's son, Indrajit, that we're all going to suffer. So just return Sita. Why are we? You're keeping Sita, who's the wife of Ramachandra, and you're just asking for the annihilation of the whole dynasty. Why don't you just return her? And they said, "Oh, he talks like he's on the side of the enemy." People who are foolish, they always think anybody who gives them good advice is siding with the enemy. So then finally they insulted Vibhishan, and Vibhishan left his brother, and he went to Lord Ramachandra. When he got to Lord Ramachandra, they had an army. There was many monkey soldiers and everything, and then the person said, "Well, how can we trust him? He's the brother of Ravana, who we're fighting against." high. And if he betrayed his own brother, how can we trust him that he will be of confidence? And he's saying like that. But then Lord Ramachandra, he answered with this verse, Sakredeva Prapano Yas Tapasmiti Chai Yachate Avayam Sarvada Tasmai Dadami Etad Vatam Mama. Lord replied, it is my vow that if only one seriously surrenders unto me, saying, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and he will always remain safe from that time on. So I read this, and I thought, this is very good. And I read that verse, and then I also prayed to the Lord, my dear Lord, I'm surrendering to you. My dear Lord, from this day I am yours. I actually read this verse and I thought, oh, this is nice. I'm going to do. But I have remembered that I said that verse, and I'm thinking. I was thinking, this is something good to do this. But that. The Lord says, if anyone surrenders unto me and just says once, my dear Lord, from this day I am yours, and prays to me for courage, I will immediately award courage to that person, and you will always remain safe from that time on. So that was my idea. You can say. Remembered this verse. Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Subudhi Jari hoy, Gara Bhakti Jogetave Krishnare Bhajai. Due to bad association, the living entity desires material happiness, liberation, or merging into the impersonal aspect of the Lord, or he engages in mystic yoga or material power. If such a person actually becomes intelligent, he takes to Krishna consciousness by engaging himself in intense devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo garadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo garadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether one desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. So even if one is foolish, even if one is full of material desires or in ignorance, one will be intelligent only if, despite one's disqualification, one can worship the Lord and engage in his service. Anyakami jari kore Krishnara bhajan na magiteha Krishna tore dena spacharan. If those who desire material enjoyment are merging into the existence of the absolute truth engage in the Lord's transcendental loving service, they will immediately attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet, although they did not ask for it. Krishna is therefore very merciful. Krishna kohayam abhaje mage vishai suk amrita chari visha mage evorad murka. Krishna kohayam abhaje mage vishai suk Amrita Chari Visha Mage Evoramurka. Krishna says that one engaged in my loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. Ami Vidya Murke Vishai Dene Diva Svacharanamrita Diya Vishai Ulaiva. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. So in other words, one is engaging in the service of the Lord, even if one is misguided. Krishna thinks, but that person is foolish, but I'm not foolish. Why should I give that person something that the Lord says, since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. Satyam dishati artitam artitoninam naivartado yat punar artito yata swayam vidute vajatam anichatam icha pidanam nija padapalavam. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so. But he does not award anything. He does not award anything which after being enjoyed will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. Kamalage Krishna Vache Pai Krishna Rase Kamachade Dasha Hoite Hoi Abhilashe. When someone engages in Krishna's devotional service for the satisfaction of the senses and instead acquires a taste for serving Krishna, he gives up his material desires and willingly offers himself as an eternal servant of Krishna. Stana Vilashi Tapasi Stitoham From Praptavan Deva Munindra Guyam Kacham Vichinvan Api Divya Ratnam Swamin Kritartosmi Varam Nayache. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead I have found the most valuable jewel. Therefore, I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you." This is Dhruva Maharaj. He was engaged in austerities. He was slighted by his stepmother, his father the king, and different wives, and Dhruva's mother was not one of the principal wives. And one time Dhruva tried to climb onto the lap of his father, and the king's favorite wife said, "You have no right to sit on the lap of your father. That is a position that only my son can have." And Dhruva was very angry because he's Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are strong-willed. So Dhruva then spoke to his mother, but his mother said, "I can't help you. This is just the way things are." And then Dhruva said, "Then who can help me?" And his mother said, "Well, the Lord, only pray to the Lord. The Lord can help you." And then Dhruva said, "Where can I sages in the forest pray to the Lord. And then Dhruva went to the forest, was trying to pray to the Lord. And he's engaging in austerities. And finally, he was there, even though he was a young boy. He got some shelter from Narad Muni, and Narad Muni guided him. And Dhruva was meditating and half-closed eyes, and then the Lord appeared before him. First, Dhruva's meditation broke, and he wondered, why is that? Because he was meditating on the Lord. But then the Lord actually appeared before him. He said, the Lord asked Dhruva, he said, well, what is he, what do you want? And then Dhruva was thinking that he wanted before to have a kingdom that was better than his brothers. But then Dhruva said, before I was looking for a piece of broken glass. Now I've found you who are the most valuable jewel. I don't want anything. And still the Lord rewarded him and everything. So it's the idea is, even if it has wrong reasons or wrong desires, wrong objectives for engaging in the service of the Lord can still satisfy one's desire and at the same time purify one, so that one doesn't have to repeatedly go to the Lord asking for this and this. So Dhruva Maharaj became a great soul. Dhruva Maharaj became completely, he understood when the Lord appeared before him. And he was actually sorry for wanting something other than the Lord, and he came to full understanding. Samsara Brahmati Kon Bhagye Ke Hotare Nadira Prabhahe Jena Kashta Lage Tire. The conditioned souls are wandering throughout the different planets of the universe, entering various species of life. By good fortune, one of these souls may somehow or other be delivered from the ocean of nations, just as one of the many big logs in a flowing river may by chance reach the bank. One is fortunate to get devotional service. It is one's very sukriti due to one's good fortune. Maivam Hamad Dhamma Maivam Mamad Dhamashapi Shad Eva Chuta Darshanam Viyamana Kala Nadya Kvachit Tarati Kaschana. Because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was my false apprehension. Rather by chance a person as fallen as I am may get to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. Spoken by a Krura. Because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was my false apprehension. Rather by chance, a person as fallen as I am may get to see the Lord. Although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. So Akrura got that mercy. Actually, he came in a chariot to take Krishna to Mathura. And there in Mathura, Krishna eventually killed Kamsa, the evil king. But Akrura was a person who came to take Krishna out of Vrindavan. He says this, because I am so fallen, I shall never get a chance to see the Lord. This was my false apprehension. Rather by chance, a person as fallen as I am may get to see the Lord. Although one is being carried away by the waves of the river of time, one may eventually reach the shore. That's all due to the Lord's mercy. Kombhagye karo samsara shayon mukahoy sadhu sange tabe krishne rate upajoy. By good fortune, one becomes eligible to cross the ocean of nescience, and when one's term of material existence decreases, one may get an opportunity to associate with the pure devotees. By such association, one's attraction to Krishna is awakened. Bhava Pavargo Brahmato Yada Bhavej Janashatarhi Achuta Tatsamagama Satsangamo Yahi Tadaiva Sadgato Paravareshe Tvai Jayate Rati Bhava Pavargo Brahmato Yada Bhavej Janashatarhi Achuta Satsangamo Yahi Tadaiva Sadgato Paravareshe Tvai Jayate Rati. O my Lord, O infallible Supreme Person, when a person wandering throughout the universes becomes eligible for liberation from material existence, one gets an opportunity to associate with devotees. When one associates with devotees, one's attraction for you is awakened. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal of the topmost devotees and the Lord of the universe. Krishna Jadi Kripa Kore Kon Bhagavane Guru Antarjami Rupe Shikaya Apane. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within. When one is kind to when the Lord is kind to some fortunate conditioned soul, he personally gives him lessons so he can progress in devotional service, instructing the person as the super soul within and the spiritual master without. So from within, the Lord gives one instructions, and here it says Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as the Chaitya Guru. So that Chaitya Guru within is giving one guidance. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart as the Chaitya Guru, the spiritual master within. When he is kind to some fortunate conditioned soul, he personally gives him lessons so he can progress in devotional service, instructing the person as the super soul within and the spiritual master without. So the Chaitya Guru is giving one instructions within, and the spiritual master is guiding one also by his kindness and words from without. Naibo payanti apachititam apo naibo payanti apachitim kavayastavesha brahmanushapi kritam reda muda smaranta yontar bahis tanuvritam ashubham vidumvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim dhyanati naivo bhayanti apachitim kavayastavesha brahmayushapi kritam ridamuda smaranta yontar bahis tanuvritam ashubham vidumvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim dhyanati. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with a prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Super Soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. Actually, here it's translated as Super Soul, but in the word by word meaning. Let's see. It mentions Chaitya Vapusha, says as the spiritual master. then Chaitya. So actually, oh my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Super Soul, or we could say as the Chaitya Guru, the guy, this spiritual master within, guiding one, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. Chaitya Guru who's giving him some guidance. Sadhu Sange Krishna Bhakti Shvara Jadi Hoy Bhakti Phala Prema Hoy Samsara Jaya Koi. By associating with a devotee, one awakens one's faith in devotional service to Krishna. Because of devotional service, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, and thus one's material conditioned existence comes to an end. Yadrichaya man katado jata shradas tuya kuman na nirvino nati shakto bhakti yogosha siddhida. Somehow or other, if one is attracted to talks about me and has faith in the instructions I have set forth in the Bhagavad Gita, and if one is neither falsely detached from material things nor very much attracted by material existence, one's dormant love for me will be awakened by devotional service. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Krishna at the time of his departure from this material world. It was spoken to Uddhava. Mahat Kripa Vina Kane Bhakti Noi Krishna Bhakti Dure Rahu Samsara Nahi Koi. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna Bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence. Unless one is favored by a pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna Bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence. Unless one is favored by Rahuganaita tapasana yati Nache Jayan Nirva Pranadrihadva Nachandasa Naiva Chalagni Suryayar Nachandasa Naiva Chalagni Suryar Vina Mahatpara Rajobhishekam Rahuganaita Tapasanayati Nache Jayan Nirva Pranadrihadva Nachandasha Naiva Jalagni Suryar Vina Mahatpana Rajobhisheka. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, a Mahajan or a Mahatma, one cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances, by gorgeously worshiping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grihastha order. Nor is it attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing oneself to fire or scorching sunlight. These were severe austerities that formerly persons would realize, but here, Jad Bharat, he's telling Maharaj Rahugana that this is all part of the history. Bharat Maharaj, India is called Bharat Varsha, it's named after Maharaj Bharat. He was a king, and he gave up everything, his wife, his family, everything he gave up very quickly. A strong example in Srimad Bhagavatam, he says he gave up his family and the kingdom and everything. Just like one doesn't stick around after passing or after defecating, one doesn't hang around there, then it doesn't stay there. That Maharaj Bharata similarly gave up all these things just as one gives up stool after passing it. It's a strong example. And then, but then he was in the forest and he was living as a sage in the forest, but one time Bharat Maharaj, he saw that a deer was running from a tiger, and the deer jumped over water, or jumped through water, and then that deer was pregnant, and this baby deer was born during that commotion, when the deer was running from the tiger. And this small deer was born in the water, and Maharaj Bharata saw that and saved the deer, brought that deer that fell into the water, the baby deer, and then he maintained that deer and fed on him. This way he would be, even though he'd given up his kingdom and his wife and family and everything, somehow or other became attached to a deer, small deer. One day, the deer, when the deer grew up a little bit, one day the deer didn't come back at night, and Bharat Maharaj, he was worried about that deer, and he went searching for that deer, and when he was searching for the deer, he fell to his death. So because that deer was on his consciousness when he died, he took birth as a deer. And then, even though he was a deer, he went in, somehow or other, he got the mercy of sages in the forest, and they fed him. And then he took birth as Jad Bharat, after taking birth as a deer. And then he took birth as Jad Bharat. And Jad Bharat was an abhidheya. He had been uninterested in material life before, so he was born as Jad Bharat. He was born as like an abhidheya, like appearing as a wild madman, but actually a realized sage. And one time, the king, whose name was Rahugana, in that time he came through the forest, and he was being carried by 4 men in a palanquin. But one of the men became ill or hurt, and they couldn't find it. And then he couldn't carry, that person couldn't help carry the palanquin. So, but then they saw Jad Bharat. Oh, that man, he looks very strong. Let's get him to help carry the palanquin of the king. So they got Jad Bharat, and he was helping, but he was really a sage, and Jad Bharat saw many ants in the path. So while he's carrying the palanquin, he's hopping from side to side, trying to avoid the ants. And the king was being shaken because they said, this new person is causing this. So then the king got down and he criticized Jad Bharat. But Jad Bharat answered him in such a way that he can understand. This man was very wise. He started out, he called him a fool, and then what Jad Bharat said. But the truth is, neither you are a king nor I am a fool. And then he explained something. And this verse is from Jad Bharat, who is appearing as a madman. And then he says, Rahuganaita tapasanayati na chejaya nirva vanadvihadva na chandasanaiva jalagni suryar vina mahatpana rajobhishekam Rahuganaita tapasanayati na chejaya nirva vanadvihadva na chandasanaiva jalagni suryar Vina Mahatpana Rajobhishekam. O King Rahugana, without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, a Mahajan or Mahatma. One cannot attain devotional service. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances, by gorgeously worshiping the deity, or by strictly following the rules and regulations of the sannyas or grihastha order, nor is it attained by studying the Vedas, submerging oneself in water, or exposing one to fire or scorching sunlight. There's no kind of external austerities that one can engage in to get the Lord's mercy. One will only get the Lord's mercy if one gets the favor of the guidance of a spiritual master. That's what it's saying. Devotional service is not possible to attain simply by undergoing severe austerities and penances. In the beginning it says, without taking from one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, one cannot attain devotional service. So everything will happen by the mercy of the devotees, and especially the realized spiritual master. Govinda Maharaj or Srila Maharaj, they can give you devotional service. Without taking upon one's head the dust from the lotus feet of a pure devotee, one cannot attain devotional service. Naishammatis tavadrukramangrim sparshanti anarta padamo yadarta mahiyasam pararajobhishekam niskinchananam navrinitayavad. Unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of great Mahatmas, devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted, miserable conditions of material life. Unless human society accepts the dust of the lotus feet of great Mahatma devotees who have nothing to do with material possessions, mankind cannot turn its attention to the lotus feet of Krishna. Those lotus feet vanquish all the unwanted material conditions of material life. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastri Koi, Lavamatra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoi. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. And actually says Lavamatra. Lavamatra means like even for a second. If you just have an association of pure soul for even a second, you can attain all sarva siddhi, or you can attain all perfection. So someone can think, how? A second's association? How will that happen? But the example is, it's like here in California we see so many forest fires. So how do they happen? Some spark hits dry grass, and the dry grass or bush catches fire immediately. Or maybe just friction of branches against a tree will cause some spark, and that spark will ignite from somebody leaves a fire. But somehow or other, everything starts, and it starts because the conditions are so dry, they're so apt to burn. But if the same spark falls on water or falls on wet plants, nothing will happen. But if the condition, in other words, by a second's association with the pure devotee, if you're like that dry grass, that you're in such a condition that you're genuinely searching for something, or searching for spiritual life, you just get a association with a pure devotee, get the mercy of a pure devotee, then you can attain all success. And it's not dependent on what we would calculate. Oh, it has to be at least 4 years. No, it doesn't have to be. It has to be. Well, then how long does it have to be? Lava matra, less than a second. If you're such quality, you're just like the spark falling in the dry grass, you can immediately attain Krishna consciousness with just just a second of association. Tulayama lavenapi na swargam na punar bhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim uta shishya. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared even to the attainment of the heavenly planets or liberation from matter, or what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which is for those who are meant for death. The value of moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared even to the attainment of the heavenly planets or liberation from matter, and what to speak of the worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which is for those who are meant for death. So, no amount of riches can compare with even a moment's association with the devotee. Krishna Kripalu Arjunare Lakya Koriya Jagatere Rakijachan Upadeshadiya. Krishna is so merciful that simply by aiming his instructions at Arjuna, he has given protection to the whole world. Sarva Guyatamam Bhuya Shrinume Paramam Vacha Ishto Si Medridam Iti Tato Vakshyami Te Hitam Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Namaskaru Mame Vaishyasi Satyam Te Pratijane Priyosi Me. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you, my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. So this is something. Srila Maharaj comments in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says this: because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you, my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. So what Srila Maharaj comments is that here Krishna lacks all kinds of, Krishna is saying this very directly. You won't find in any scriptures of other religions where the Lord says, actually I'm telling you this for your benefit, Become my devotee, worship me, bow down to me. It seems like the Lord is throwing, he's just speaking so, you could say audaciously, so strongly. He's speaking. The Lord is like he's lacking in any kind of, you won't find where the Lord says like that so directly to persons. Become my devotee, worship me, bow down to me. I'm saying this for your benefit. It's like something Srila Maharaj talks about, how the Lord is so, you can almost say so shamelessly, saying this directly, but it's for everyone's benefit. You bow down to me, worship me, become my devotee. It's like Krishna is saying that. It's like without any kind of modesty or shame. It's just like very directly saying that. I'm joking a little bit, not joking, but I'm saying that facetiously, you might say that. Here the Lord is just saying so strongly, without, so to speak, pulling any punches, not hiding anything, just saying, come to me, worship me, be my devotee. I'll give you all protection. I'm saying this for your benefit. Like a very direct statement. You won't find this kind of instruction elsewhere. Purva agya veda dharma karma yoga gyan samsadi se agya balavan. Although Krishna previously explained the proficiency of executing Vedic rituals, performing fruitive activity as enjoined in the Vedas, practicing yoga and cultivating jnana, these last instructions are most powerful and stand above all the others. So many paths are taught in Bhagavad Gita, so many different kinds of yogas, karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, meditation, so many different paths. Although Krishna previously explained the proficiency of executing Vedic rituals, performing fruitive activity, as enjoined in the Vedas, practicing yoga and cultivating jnana, or knowledge, these last instructions are most powerful and stand above all the others. So what stands above all the others? These statements. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyachi mam namaskaru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. Because you are my dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Always think of me and become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my dear friend. Agya bole bhaktera shraddha jali hoy sarva karma jaga kori say Krishna bhajoy. If the devotee has faith in the strength of this order, he worships Lord Krishna and gives up all other activities. Well, it seems like in these verses, the Lord would say, without any shame, is recruiting persons to become his devotee. If the devotee has faith in the strength of this order, he worships Lord Krishna and gives up all other activities. Very good. Tapat karmane kurvikanam nirvidyeta yavata matkata shaganado va shradayava najayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not acquired taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. So as long as you still want to enjoy this material world, and then you don't have any taste for devotional service. By here it says by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, by hearing and chanting. If you don't have any taste for that, then one has to act according to the regular principles of the Vedic injunction. One has to be guided by the rules and regulations of religion, as long as one doesn't have any real taste for the Lord. But if you have some taste for the Lord, then you can understand that just by surrendering to the Lord, all your other obligations in this world are finished. But as long as you don't have that attraction for the lotus feet of the Lord and His service, then you have to follow so many things, so many commandments,
Yeah.
But the real point is, if you develop some inherent or natural love of God in your heart, and you guide it in that way from internally by out of love for the Lord, and you're thinking of the Lord and serving the Lord, then you don't have to accept, or you don't have to be controlled by all these mandates of whatever. the scriptures, etc. Those rules and regulations are meant to help you develop some guidance, but if one has already come to the point of surrendering to the Lord, one doesn't have to follow lower instructions about how to, like the people in Vrindavan, they were worshiping Krishna, but not because they were forced to do so. Krishna's God, we have to serve God. It says in the scriptures, no. They weren't even thinking of Krishna's God. They were naturally attracted to Krishna and wanted to be with him, wanted to serve him, just out of love and affection. So they didn't have to follow. Then the position of following all the rules and regulations, guiding society and guiding spiritual, guiding one, those things, they become of less importance if one actually has developed some love for the Lord. For instance, if they say, one has to go to the church every day at this time, one has to, no. One actually has some love for the Lord, one is not forced to follow every rule and regulation that exists. Of course, but there's a qualification here. It says, as long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service, by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. If you haven't, become tired, exhausted with mundane activity and mundane desires, and haven't awakened some actual taste for the Lord by hearing and chanting about him, then you have to follow so many things. But who's like I remember one example. Someone brought, I was told that someone brought prasadam. Prabhupada was visiting somewhere, and someone brought prasadam for him, and that devotee said, Prabhupada, I brought you prasadam, but I see you're not ready yet. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, why is that? And he said, because you haven't put on tilak yet. And then Prabhupada looked at that person and said, something like this, I'm not quoting exactly what he did. And that devotee said, I brought you prasadam, but I see you're not ready yet. Oh, why is that? Because you haven't put on tilak. And Prabhupada answered, I'm a Mahabhagavata, I don't have to put on tilak. Maybe he said it jokingly. But it's actually the truth. It's not bound by, oh, you're not ready. Why? Because you haven't put on your tilak. So it's like he's a disciple of Prabhupada and he's telling Prabhupada what he needs to do. So Prabhupada joked with him. Shraddha Shabde, Vishvasa Kohe, Sudrida Nischoy, Krishna Bhakti Kole Sarva Dharma Kritahoy. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. Yatataror mulanische yisei chanena tripyanti tatskanda bhajopashaka pranavaharascha yatendriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam achyutateja yatataror mulanische Ishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashaka pranopaharascha yatendriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam ajutateja. By pouring water on the root of a tree, one automatically satisfies the trunk, branches, and twigs. Similarly, by supplying food to the stomach, where it nourishes the life air, one satisfies all the senses. In the same way, by worshiping Krishna and rendering service, one automatically satisfies all the demigods. Shadavan jana hoy bhakti viadikari uttamadhyama kanishta shraddha anusari. A faithful devotee is a truly eligible candidate for the loving service of the Lord. According to one's faith, one is classified as a topmost devotee, an intermediate devotee, or an inferior devotee. A faithful devotee is a truly eligible candidate for the loving service of the Lord. According to one's faith, one is classified as a topmost devotee, an intermediate devotee, or an inferior devotee. The word Shraddhavan, faithful, means understanding Krishna to be the summum bonum, the eternal truth and absolute transcendence. If one has full faith in Krishna and confidence in him, one becomes eligible to discharge devotional service confidentially. According to one's faith, one is the topmost, intermediate, or inferior devotee. Shastra Jukte Shunipuna Drida Shara Jara Uddama Adhikare Se Taraye Samsara. One who is expert in logic, argument, and the revealed scriptures, and who has firm faith in Krishna is classified as a topmost devotee. He can deliver the whole world. Shastra Yukto Chanipuna Sarvata Drida Nischaya Prodha Shradho Dikariya Nasva Na Sabhaktam Bhutamo Mata. Shastra Jukto Chanipuna Sarvata Drida Nischaya Prodha Shradho Dikariya Sabhaktam Bhutamo Mata. One who is expert in logic and in understanding the revealed scriptures, and who always has firm conviction and deep faith that is not blind, is to be considered the topmost devotee in devotional service. Shastra Jukti Nahi Jane Dridin Shradhavan Madhyama Adhikari Se Mahabhagyavan. One who is not very expert in argument and logic based on the revealed scriptures, but who has firm faith, is considered a second-class devotee. He also must be considered most fortunate. That's a Madhyama Adhikari. First we heard of a Uttama Adhikari, topmost realized devotee. Now this is the middle-class devotee, or Madhyama Adhikari. Ya Shastra Deshvani Puna Shraddhavan Satu Madhyama. He who does not know scriptural argument very well, but who has firm faith, is called an intermediate or second-class devotee. He who does not know scriptural argument very well, but who has firm faith, is called an intermediate or second-class devotee. Yahara Kamala Shraddha Sekanishta Jan Krame Teho Bhakta Hoive Uttam. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a beginning bhakta. But by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. Yo Bhavet Kamala Shraddha Sakanasto Nigadyate Yo Bhavet kanisto nigadyate. One whose faith is not very strong, who is just beginning, should be considered a neophyte devotee. Rati prema taratam ye bhakta taratam. Rati prema taratam amye bhakta taratam. Ekadasha skande tara koriyache lakan. A devotee is considered superlative or superior according to his attachment and love. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the following symptoms have been given. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has stated that if one has developed faith in Krishna consciousness, it is to be considered an eligible candidate for further advancement in Krishna consciousness. Those who have faith are divided into three categories: Uttama, Madhyam, and Kanishta. First class, second class, and neophyte. A first class devotee has firm conviction in the revealed scriptures and of the science of Krishna consciousness. The Madhyamadikari or second class devotee has firm conviction in Krishna consciousness, but he cannot support his conviction by citing Shastric references. The neophyte devotee does not yet have firm faith. In this way, the devotees are typed or categorized. The standard of devotion is also categorized in this way. A neophyte believes that only love of Krishna or Krishna consciousness is very good, but he may know the standard of devotion is also categorized in this way. A neophyte believes that only love of Krishna or Krishna consciousness is very good, but he may not know the basis of Krishna consciousness or how one can become a perfect devotee. Sometimes in the heart of a neophyte there is attraction for karma, jnana, or yoga. When he is free and transcendental to mixed devotional activity, he becomes a second-class devotee. When he becomes expert in logic and can refer to the Shastras, he becomes first-class devotee. The devotees are also described as positive, comparative, and superlative in terms of their love and attachment for Krishna. It should be understood that a Madhyamadikari, a second-class devotee, is fully convinced of Krishna consciousness, but cannot support his convictions with Shastric reference. The neophyte may fall down by associating with non-devotees because he is not firmly convinced and strongly situated. The second-class devotee, even though he cannot support his position with Shastric reference, can gradually become a first-class devotee by studying the Shastras and associating with a first-class devotee. However, if the second-class devotee does not advance himself by associating with a first-class devotee, he makes no progress. There is no possibility that a first-class devotee will fall down, even though he may mix with non-devotees to preach. Conviction and faith gradually increase to make one an Uttamadikari, a first-class devotee. So I'm going to stop here tomorrow. Hariharaya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Hariharaya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Madhanamohan Giridhari Gopinatha Madhanamohan Sri Chaitanya Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jahoite Vignana Shabishta Puran Jahoite Vignana Shabishta Puran H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame More Avilas Janame Janame More Avilas H.I. Gosai Jabe Braji Koilamas H.I. Gosai Jabe Braji Koilamas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Manjayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parvajaka Chariyasta Tara Sara Shishi Mad Shila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Parvajaka Chariyasta Tara Sara Shishi Mad Shila Bhakti Rakak Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Shila Bhakti Sananda Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Shila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarva Bhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhagavad Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Shri Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Si Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shigora Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All the assembled